Welcome, everyone, to the last meeting in October of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. This is meeting number, how many? 14 now in person for this year. I'm President Doug Saltzgaver. We're glad to have you here at Wakanda in person. Also glad for those people out there in cyberspace watching our live streaming, and those of you watching at a later time on the YouTube channel. And again, thanks to Invictus Media, the two ninjas over there, get everything set up, operating, and tear down. Thank you for what you do. I'm not wearing my mask here while at the podium, so you can hear me more clearly, and that I'm safely distanced from all of you. And of course, we will be sanitizing the microphone between speakers. One thing you might have noticed today that's new is our old name badges are back. After some discussion at the board, we thought it was safe to do that, since basically you're the only one picking it up, taking it off the board, and they will be sanitized after the meeting. And one thing of note, just because we have those does not mean that you do not have to RSVP. You may have noticed we did not scan in, so we need for attendance that you still RSVP, so we know you're coming and we know what the lunch count will be. On this day in 1929, does anyone know what happened? Yeah, Skeet would know. He probably caused it. The stock market crashed and started the Great Depression. Thanks a lot, Skeet. Yeah. And I will now ask Monsignor Magnano, who is coming out of retirement. It took some doing, but we got him to come here, because as most people know, when a priest retires, they are done praying, but we got him for today only. So after that, after his moment of inspiration, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance and the four-way test. Monsignor?
Wow, couldn't have been that bad. Anyway, good. Well, thank you for that nice introduction. So coming out of retirement. Okay, here we go. A little thoughts for today. You ready? It really is an understatement to say that we're living in uncertain times, tumultuous. It's like being caught in a sudden storm showering down upon you and me, mistrust, even violence. But there's a nice little umbrella that can shield us and others if we choose to share it with others, and it's called peace. Starts with us. Each individual is the beginning. In the Middle Ages, Champion, there was a little Italian friar from Assisi, Italy. His name was Francis, and he averted a civil war in Assisi by composing a prayer. And he gave it to both sides. He said, say this and live it. It's the famous prayer of St. Francis. You may have heard it before. You probably have. So you can also Google it up. It's available. Just say Prayer of St. Francis. So you ready? Are you? Okay. I like audience participation. That's fantastic. Okay. Here you go. Let's go. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we are born to eternal life. You all have it on your phone. It's right there. Prayer of peace. Okay, are you ready for the Pledge of Allegiance? Here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the four-way test. Where is it? There it is. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Amen. And now I think we can kind of greet each other.
Thank you, Monsignor. And I've actually been to Assisi and seen their cathedral there. Very nice, very beautiful place. And again, we need more people to sign up for the moment of inspiration. We ask for a volunteer each week to do this. We have one duty each week, people, that we need help with. One. You need to step up. So please sign up in the lobby or email Kitty. Again, you don't have to sit down here with me if you don't want. You can sit somewhere else if that's a deterrent. We'll even throw in an extra cookie at lunch if that's what it takes. So please sign up if you would. And now, Colleen Rogers Messenger from the Community Service has an announcement.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I wanted to make a quick announcement about the flyer that's on your table. So once again, this time of year is when we have our Thanksgiving partnership with Edmonds Elementary. And this flyer will tell you a little bit more about the school, the kids that attend there, the status of the families that send their children there. And I just wanted to encourage you all to help us meet our goal. We would like to provide Fairway gift cards to 200 families this year. And right now we're at 26, so we have some work to do. And the deadline is in about a week and a half on Monday, November 7th. And to inspire you, I wanted to share a story from one of last year's recipients, a single mom of 7 children. So this mom was pregnant with twins and ended up having them prematurely. The twins spent several months in the NICU, and their stay fell over the Thanksgiving holiday. With the financial hardship and stress of having babies in the NICU, this mom was resigned to the fact that she'd be unable to celebrate the holiday with her children. All that changed. She learned that she would receive a Fairway gift card, and she instantly burst into tears. She was incredibly grateful that now she'd be able to make a meal and memories with her family. So please join me. I'm also pledging to support a family by Monday, November 9th. You can donate by signing up on the other side of the flyer. And next week, you'll also receive an email reminder, and this will have additional instructions. Thank you very much.
That applause for her or me? For those of you out there in cyberspace, people were saying, of course it was for her, and if you need to ask, you should know. All right, I guess with that, one nice thing about being president, sometimes I don't have to sign up for things. Kitty, want to put me down to sponsor 3 families for that? Thank you, Colleen, for telling us about that. I'm only up here in short bursts today. Now I'd like to ask Chris Anderson to introduce our keynote speaker today. Everyone should know the drill by now. If we have time for questions, we have the microphone right over here so we can get you on camera so people out in cyberspace can see you. And if in case they're just listening to the meeting, please state your name so they know who is asking the question. And with that, Chris.
Thank you, Doug. Well, I was very selfish in pushing for this guest speaker today because I've gotten to know her for the last 3 years when I was at the Playhouse. She's extremely dynamic, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity for everyone to understand more about what makes Des Moines, Des Moines. We have a fantastic organization in Bravo Greater Des Moines. So, Sally Dix is the executive director of Bravo Greater Des Moines, a nonprofit organization that leverages community resources to maximize impacts of the arts, culture, and heritage to advance regional priorities. Now, she is celebrating her 6th year at the helm. During her leadership, the organization completed 2 strategic planning sessions and processes. She facilitated a regional cultural assessment that I would argue is the envy of many different regions across the country. And she has laser sharpened the organization's grant-making process to make a bigger and deeper impact in our community. Now, when I talk about Sally, she's very well connected, and she definitely donates her time to the community. So I've got a list of all of her accomplishments here, so bear with me just for a moment. I'm kidding. It would actually require 2 books. Sally has also made significant impacts by lending her expertise and leadership to the organizations like Iowa Arts Council, Cuyahoga Arts and Culture, Greater Des Moines Community, Cultural Capital of Capitol Crossroads, United Way of Central Iowa, Grants Committee at the Community Foundation of Greater Des Moines, Greater Des Moines Leadership Institute Community Connect Program, Des Moines Parks and Recreation Comprehensive Plan, Communications Board of the Greater Des Moines Partnership, but she's just not local either. Nationally, she serves on the National Endowment for the Arts, Americans for the Arts United States Urban Arts Federation, and prior to further solidifying her rock star status in the community at Bravo, Sally served for nearly 10 years as Vice President of Communications for the Science Center of Iowa. And before that, she was the very first executive director of the Iowa affiliate of Susan G. Komen for the Cure. She completed her executive leadership program at Drake University. She has a bachelor's degree from Northwestern University, master's degree in Johns Hopkins, both of which are in environmental sciences and policy, and also an MBA from the University of Iowa. I think you will, by the end of this, you will also agree with me that I would pay handsomely to be able to hear her read out of a phone book, let alone what she's going to present on today. So without further ado, Sally Dix. Good. It is all yours. Sally, you betcha.
Thank you, Chris, for the lovely introduction. With all of that, I still haven't figured out how to wear a mask and glasses at the same time. So fortunately, we don't have to do that while I'm standing up here. Thank you all so much for the opportunity to speak with you a little bit today. I love to talk about Bravo and what we get to do, and hope that we can leave this on a positive note. There's lots of great things happening, and I'm hoping it's not ominous that we're on the day the stock market crashed, the anniversary of the day the stock market crashed. Hopefully that's not a bellwether. Couple of things that are not on my bio that Chris just shared that may help you get a little bit of sense of who I am. I actually wanted to be a marine biologist. That's what I studied at Northwestern. That's what I wanted to be. Thought I would do that and went to Johns Hopkins, had a couple of great experiences for that. I share that because I want you to know that I'm eminently qualified to be running an arts organization. I am from Chicago originally, grew up in the northern suburbs. I'm a Cubs fan, can't talk about the White Sox, but really proud of my Midwestern heritage and love to get back there, still have family living in Chicago. I wear a lot of hats. I do love what I get to do at Bravo, but I'm actually also a wife and a mom and a daughter and a sister, and I try to also be a friend. Right now, I am also a lunch lady and a homeschool teacher and the chief dishwasher in our house. I don't know how I was officially nominated for that role, but that's one of the hats I carry right now. And the other thing that you wouldn't necessarily see from my bio is that I'm a high introvert living in what we all know is a pretty extroverted world. I share that because there aren't a lot of silver linings to COVID, but when I try to think about things that I'm grateful for, I'm grateful that I have a safe place that gives me energy and a small community that I can be with during this time when we're all struggling with so much. So that's just a little bit about me that you won't get from the bio. Moving into the interesting stuff, which is about Bravo. We find that we are a really well-known organization, but really poorly understood. We've done a terrible job telling our story. So I want to talk a little bit about the arts and culture sector, but I think have to give a little foundation for Bravo and who we are. Bravo was formed in 2004 by visionary leaders that recognized that the future of our community depended on quality of life. If we were going to have economic development and talent growth that we want and we see as our region, it was going to have to depend on quality of life. And there was already a lot here to offer from the arts and culture perspective. We had a civic center, we had a science center, we had a zoo, we had an art center. There were many world-class amenities here, but there was not an intentional effort to support them, nor was there a dedicated revenue stream to make sure that those assets and amenities received the investments that they needed in order to be strong. So, fortunately, public-private partnerships thrive in our region, and these visionary community leaders approached 9 local governments who all said yes to giving a portion of their hotel-motel taxes to Bravo. And that's how we were formed. We remain today 99% funded with hotel motel tax dollars. And we now have 17 communities that contribute to our organization. We serve greater Des Moines, north to Polk City, south to Indianola, west to Waukee, and east to Altoona, Pleasant Hill, depends on where you're drawing the line. We have no interest in a larger geography. We feel this is the right size for our organization. And with the hotel motel taxes, we were anticipating last year, we had an annual budget of about $5 million. So this is a significant organization for our region. Bravo was formed primarily to serve as a centralized grant funder to arts, culture, and heritage. We obviously were able to leverage the funds of each individual community in more impactful ways than each individual community could do if they were investing on their own. However, the vision for our organization is much broader than just the grant making that we do. And I say just grant making. Last year it was $4.5 million. So again, I don't mean to minimize. It's just that there's more that we're able to do. We believe that arts and culture are connected to every regional priority, from talent development to economic growth, diversity, equity, and inclusion, mental health, homelessness. We have a project going in today addressing homelessness. Arts and culture can and should play a role. Arts are not separate from achieving regional priorities. Arts are integral to achieving regional priorities. And so while Bravo's most effective tool is our competitive grant-making program, again, that's what most people know us for, we also provide leadership on arts and cultural issues and opportunities beyond grant making. Efforts and initiatives that a single organization can't do, we try to lift up and support to make sure that the arts align with all regional priorities. We hope our vision and mission aligns with that work. We think this is important not only because obviously we all know arts inspire creativity and innovation and resiliency and beauty. Art for art's sake, we can't underestimate that. However, the arts also mean business. I think a lot of people often think of the arts as a nice-to-have thing for our community. Well, it turns out they're a significant economic engine as well. In 2017, we shared these results. Unfortunately, they are a little bit dated at this point. They were supposed to be rerunning the survey this year for obvious reasons. We have the data that we have. But in 2017, we were able to release this information as part of a study we did with Americans for the Arts. 65 of the nonprofit organizations in Greater Des Moines participated in this, and the data show that there are $185 million worth of economic impact from the nonprofit arts and culture sector alone each year. Now, this doesn't include for-profit like movie theaters or for-profit event venues, and it also doesn't include the individual creative economy, the individual artists that are making a huge difference and impact in our community. This is just the nonprofit organizations, $185 million worth of annual economic impact. 5,677 jobs supported by arts and culture. That's not small potatoes. That's a really big deal for our community. If you think about some of the larger corporations that we have in town, 5,677 jobs directly supported puts the arts and culture sector pretty competitive up there. The other thing that I love to share, knowing that we're funded with government revenue, is we love to share that reinvestment of government revenue. Sometimes there's a perception that public funding for the arts is just taking money. We're just taking money from police officers and potholes. Well, that's not actually true. The arts and culture sector is generating a significant amount of tax revenue that's going right back into the communities where it supports. The really nice thing about arts and culture job and economic impact is that it's almost by its very nature hyper-local. These are people that work here, that live here, that are engaging in their communities here, and the money stays here. So the economic impact shouldn't be underestimated, along with, again, the inspiration and creativity and hope. So then, COVID. It's not a competition. Every single sector of the U.S. job market has suffered greatly, but the leisure and hospitality industry, which includes arts and cultural venues and experiences, sustained more job losses than any other sector with the onset of COVID. The information that you're seeing here is just for the first 3 months of COVID, just the first 3 months of the pandemic. And some of the sectors we support, entertainment, recreation, performing arts, lost more than half their workforce in the first 3 months of the pandemic. Again, not a competition, but there's plenty of bad to go around. But it is hard to find a sector harder hit, even within the cultural sector, than the performing arts. The performing arts sector, live events nationally employ more than 12 million people. For most of these organizations, ticket sales make up 75 to 95% of their revenues. The faucet didn't trickle to a stop. There was no wind down. There wasn't an opportunity to figure out what plan B is going to be. They stopped. The doors were closed. The lights were off. This is really important to understand that live event venues are still struggling. Most are not open. There isn't an economic model available to many of them that allows them to reopen with safe distances and thrive. Live events are really, really hit hard, particularly. Moving on to Iowa impact, the financial impact on Iowa's arts and culture information. Again, I'm sharing first quarter statistics because this is what we have most concretely. Iowa's arts and entertainment industry fell 33% in the first quarter. The total financial impact, $31.2 million in just three months. Attendance losses of almost 3 million. 96% of organizations that participated in this survey had to cancel events, and 63% had to modify their operating status. That could mean closing their doors. It could mean implementing social distancing. It could mean many other creative solutions. But it's amazing to see. The sweeping impact. There were no cultural organizations that were left untouched. Moving into this, we participate in a number of surveys, as I'm sure everyone has survey fatigue, but a number of surveys, this one by Americans for the Arts, asking organizations, nonprofits, how severe they expect the financial impact to be. 86% of Iowa's nonprofit organizations said that they expect it to be severe or extremely severe. It's very dramatic. The next slide shows another set of data points. Respondents were also asked to rank how confident they were that their organization would survive the impact of COVID-19. And 7% of respondents said that they were not confident their organization was going to survive. If you do the math, Bravo funds about 75 organizations in Greater Des Moines, 7%. That's 5 organizations that aren't going to come back from this. I don't have on my list which 5 I'm willing to live without. It's really, really hard. And again, this was 3 months ago, data from 3 months ago. So recovery is going to come, and we've seen some great things happen already in our community. Recovery is going to come, we know that. And we know that there are almost, although the cultural sector was hit harder than many, we also know the cultural sector is uniquely positioned to respond. We know that certain organizations are going to come on sooner than later. I don't know how many of you went to Living History Farms or to the zoo or to the Botanic Gardens this summer. Outdoor experiences are likely to come back sooner, places where people can go and spread themselves out and feel safe in that outdoor environment. That's really going to help and hopefully drive increased demand for those organizations. Those organizations that are in closed spaces like science centers or places that have highly tactile experiences, things that you need to get up close and see. Those are going to be harder to come back online, I think, as people readjust to the new normal and what their expectations are. And then organizations and venues that host audiences that are traditionally older. Those are going to be ones where we just have to wait and see how comfortable people feel coming back. It's no matter what the institution does, there's a huge dependence on the audience as well, and making sure that the audience feels ready to come back and welcome and safe to be back in. So recovery will come, but it will come at different time frames. There won't be a light switch where we say, there's a vaccine, everybody's back. We're good, we're clear. The cliff was steep, the tail will be long, and the on-ramp is going to take us a while. So being aware of the longer-term implications of this. Now, with all of that horrible, sad news, I'm really lucky to tell you that there's some great things happening, and I love what I get to do because there is so much resiliency and creativity in our community. Just on this slide here are some examples of some of the creative ways our cultural organizations in our community have adapted over the last several months. The Playhouse, as Chris said, that's where he used to work. I don't know how many of you had the chance to go to a drive-in play this summer, but it was phenomenal. You could sit in your car, or you could sit outside your car, you could listen to the show on an FM radio of all things, and it was phenomenally creative. I spoke to, when my husband and I went, I spoke to some of the volunteers that were working there, and I spoke to one woman who had been volunteering at the Playhouse for 20 years. So not only were we excited as audiences to be back, but she as a volunteer couldn't have been happier to be welcoming us back to her space and to something she was personally passionate about. It truly was an amazing experience for us. Art Force Iowa, I'm betting this is an organization a lot of you don't know about. This is an organization that serves primarily underserved high school students, young people who are expressing themselves through art, because other ways that they've found to express themselves have not been as positive. These are often young people who are in the justice system or who are looking for places where they can connect with community. I talked to the executive director of Art Force Iowa one day, and she was about to peel 400 pounds of potatoes because her students not only had no place to go to gather, they don't have any food. They come to gather at Art Force not only to do art, but they also get a meal. And they get community. And so they found out that many of their students didn't have hot meals, so they were providing those. They also had to put a lot of their programming on DVD and buy DVD players to get over this internet hurdle that many of them had. They didn't have access to high-speed internet, so they couldn't participate in the art-making classes that were online. So they put the art-making classes on DVD and delivered DVD players. Just incredibly creative pivots to make sure that these young people stayed connected to their community. The Greater Des Moines Botanical Gardens, I don't know if any of you are gardeners. I wish that I was, but I am not. But they do a plant sale every year. And you order your plants and you can go and you can pick out your plants, and they're incredibly curated by this outstanding staff. Well, obviously that wasn't an option this year. So they took it online. It was their most successful plant sale ever. People shopping online for plants. So that was a wonderful shift that they were able to make to drive some revenue. The Blank Park Zoo, the Science Center of Iowa, and Living History Farms, three really well-known organizations that do a tremendous service for our community by providing high-quality summer camps. I know I have kids at home. We were looking for creative ways to get them out of the house and engaged. We were so fortunate to have these organizations that thought through all of the details and were able to put camp programs together for these kids. I'm fairly certain, though it's not my story to tell, there wasn't a single child that had COVID as a result of participating in these camps. Not a single one. They were able to run all three of them all summer long without a single COVID case for those kids, which I think is really impressive. The Iowa Architectural Foundation, walking tours have been reinstated, but they did a tremendous video collaboration with Pyramid Theater to celebrate the renovation of the Edna Griffin building. I don't know how many of you know about Edna Griffin, or this great building where the Come and Go is now downtown, the convenience store downtown. She was an outstanding civil rights leader for our community, and it was incredible to have this building renovated and to be able to do this video online collaboration with Pyramid to celebrate that reopening, which otherwise might have gone silent if people couldn't have participated. And then City Voices. I think it's just important that we recognize that a lot of people missed opportunities to celebrate. City Voices is an organization that offers voice lessons to high school students that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford them. And not being able to afford voice lessons can close doors for you if you want to pursue voice in college. If you don't have the opportunity to practice with a coach, that can close a pathway for you. And so City Voices provides these coaching voice lessons for kids, but they didn't get to do their recitals. Their senior recitals, these students that have worked for years and years. And so City Voices took those recitals online and made them available over Facebook so that people could watch and participate and celebrate the hard work of the young people that had committed their time and energy, many of whom are going on to pursue voice or music in college. So there are loads of challenges, there's no question about it, but the organizations in Des Moines are forging ahead. And I end on this note because it's critically important that we have hope and that we remember that through creativity and resilience and innovation, patrons and volunteers and donors have still been able to engage in arts and culture despite the very dramatic impact of the pandemic. These organizations didn't go dark. They just reinvented themselves. I'm going to close with just a quote, not my words, but Richard Florida, who wrote The Creative Class. It's a book from many years ago that was actually part of the inspiration for Des Moines creating Bravo. This quote, the highlighted part at the top, more than gross domestic product or economic power, the true measure of a nation's vitality and resilience is its cultural and technological creativity. I couldn't agree more. The arts are so much more than nice to have. They're tied to every single regional priority. Investing in the arts means investing in jobs, mental health, education, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Arts and culture are so much more than one night out or one painting. Arts and culture are truly a thread that is woven into every fabric of our daily lives. It's everywhere. And so my call to action for all of you is to find a way to engage. You can't go sit in a theater right now. Live music is hard to come by, but there are so many ways to engage. And so my challenge to all of you today is to find a way to continue to connect with your own creativity, with the creativity our community has to offer, and support these arts and culture organizations. They are the fundamental anchors of our community, and I'm really looking forward to having them all come back online soon. I'd love to take questions from the group, either about Bravo or about the impacts of COVID, but I just thank you all so much for the opportunity.
And the applause was very much for you. Ganesh Ganpat. So what would two-part question. Comparable sales tax for hotel, motel, in similar sized cities. How does Des Moines compare? That's the first question. And what would an incremental increase do to support all these organizations? Thank you.
That's a great question. So compared to other similar sized cities, The hotel motel taxes in Iowa are a little bit lower. We are 7% is hotel motel tax. And that is lower than some cities. I'm sure it's higher than others, but this is a question that has been asked. As far as raising the hotel motel tax, that is certainly an option, and people with a different pay grade than mine will have to have that conversation. It is important to note, however, that Bravo is formed through 28E, you're getting in the weeds, 28E agreements with each of the different cities that support us. So I have a legal contract with 17 different cities. In each of those legal contracts, it says that any increases in hotel motel tax will not affect the amount of money that goes to Bravo. We will get 2/7 of the first 7%, and anything after that, the cities will have discretion on how to distribute. So it may or may not, increasing hotel motel tax may or may not directly trickle to the cultural organizations.
Thank you. I'm John Tone. I have a question for you. I know your key budget help to the major arts and culture organizations in town, but tell me examples of how you help the small, newer, and growing arts and culture organizations.
Yeah, that's a great question, too. I think there's a perception that Bravo invests all of our money in the big organizations. I listed some of them here, the Science Center, the Zoo, Living History Farms. We're very proud of the anchor institutions that we're able to invest in. Obviously, these organizations are driving visitors and travel to our region. That helps feed our cycle. So we're very, very proud of what we're able to put into those organizations. But what most people don't know is that almost 50% of the organizations Bravo supports have no staff. They're all volunteer-run organizations. Almost, I'm going to do my numbers, 85% of the organizations Bravo supports have budgets below $250,000. So the depth and breadth of what we're investing in, I think, is not always seen, but there is a wide range of organizations that we're supporting. And we do try to support them financially, but also in other ways. We try to connect them through partnerships. We've hosted a number of conversations over the course of the last 6 months to bring all of our cultural partners together to share their experiences and talk about some of the issues that they're facing, some of the things that they need that we might be able to provide that go beyond dollars. We know that money isn't always the answer. So we do try to listen to that. Another thing that's just potentially important to note is that you're looking at 50% of the Bravo staff. We are a team of 2.
Hi, Sally. Thanks for coming today. My name is Skeet Wooten. The arts, as you so eloquently stated, are critical to what the life of any community is. Could you go through and explain what the grant process is and how someone can apply for that? That's question one. And then question two, I was surprised when you said only 7% of the arts organizations felt like they would not survive. That seems candidly low, and I wish if you could address that too. Thank you.
So the grant process is fairly complex. We, as I said, are supporting 75 different organizations. We typically provide general operating support. Many people are familiar with program or project grants, where you say you're going to do a thing and we decide whether we want to invest in that thing or not. We are actually investing in a more holistic way and saying your organization needs to be the best organization that you are, and you should decide what programs you want to do. Our job is to decide how to invest in you to support you in being that best organization. So Bravo primarily provides general operating support grants. They are unrestricted. We don't even ask you what you do with the money at the end of the year. We do, however, have to be transparent and accountable as stewards of public funds. So there is a comprehensive application process and review process, and our board determines award amounts, and the process is fairly lengthy and thoughtful. But every single organization has to apply. In order to be eligible, you have to be a 501c organization. Your mission has to be primarily arts, culture, or heritage based. You have to be located in, your primary headquarters has to be located in one of the 17 cities that Bravo receives support from, and you have to serve primarily residents of and visitors to. Those are the eligibility requirements. Almost every single organization that meets those eligibility requirements is funded by Bravo. We try to build a big tent and be very inclusive. As far as organizations that aren't going to make it through, that was 3 months ago. That data point I shared was from 3 months ago. I don't know that anyone imagined that this would still be going on the way that it is right now. And with no end in sight, there isn't a business model out there that can operate with no revenue. There isn't a business model out there that can operate long-term even at 50% capacity. The models just don't exist. So we are certainly don't have insider information, but expect that we haven't seen the end of that conversation.
Hi, my name's Jason Stuyvesant, and as a giant live music fan, even met my wife at a music festival, I know obviously this depends a lot more on governments and scientists than Bravo, but what are you hearing as far as when we will be able to gather again like that? I know a lot of major experts I've been reading say summer of 2022, maybe. So.
Yeah, there are a lot of variables that go into that. So one of my favorite things that we did this summer, I don't know how many of you went to Revive the Live. Outdoor music concert. They set up a stage in the back of Waterworks Park, and they had live music come in, and it was, again, sort of a drive-up concept. You could get out of your car, and it was phenomenal. Not a Bravo-funded organization, but a terrifically creative way to bring back live music. And the joy on people's faces at the opportunity to participate, there's clearly demand. So we're good on the demand side. We know that that's something people want to do. It's, again, the answer, like everything else, is it depends. Let's use an enclosed space theater as an example. You could put people in an enclosed space theater right now if they were comfortable. You could space them out in pods. The challenge is, who can you put up on stage that's willing to do that, perform in front of a live theater right now? And what's the economic model to support that? Because you got to pay that person that's up on stage or that band that's up on stage. It's not fair to ask them to perform for free. That's their livelihood too. So you got to pay them. You also have to pay the ushers and the people that take the tickets and the people that are going to clean up after the concert. And so you have the same number of expenses for a theater that's 50% full as you do for a theater that's 100% full, but you're half as much revenue. It's going to be a while before we see live music in indoor venues. I know there are several communities that have built amphitheaters, and potentially that's a way to go. The Waterworks Park, the new stage at Waterworks Park, some creative things happening there. I'm hopeful that we're going to continue to think creatively, but there are different institutions that are going to come back at different times and in different ways.
Chris Anderson, for those that are watching this remote. Sally, I can't remember if it was Thursday or Friday of last week with the Business Record. There was an article in the Daily email about youth homelessness. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So as I said, Bravo's primarily known for our grant making and for supporting all the great work that the existing nonprofit cultural organizations are doing. But there are some really important causes in our community that arts and culture is uniquely positioned to draw attention to. And youth homelessness is one of those, and we're so proud to be partnering with Mid-Iowa Health Foundation and the Iowa Homeless Youth Action Council to put in an installation in downtown Des Moines today, tomorrow, and Saturday. Today's Thursday. Today, tomorrow, and Saturday, called the Dream Cube. And this project is it's an 8-foot cube of pillows that's being set up, and there are artistic panels, sort of comic book themed panels. But the purpose of the installation is to really viscerally activate the connection that we have. If you don't have a safe place to dream, how can you become your best self? And in conversations with young people who have experienced homelessness or who are experiencing homelessness, we've had an opportunity to hear that they don't think their voices are being heard. They don't feel seen. And art is a unique way to draw the community together to have a conversation about this issue. Now, there's great work happening. There are organizations that are literally leading the country on tackling youth homelessness. But I bet you guys didn't know that. I bet you weren't aware of those organizations. I bet you weren't aware that our region has a really powerful strategic plan for addressing youth homelessness and smart people that are working to make this happen. We think that by adding this installation, we can shine a light on that and lift up youth voice in a way that will connect with people in a different way than reading a strategic plan or hearing about a HUD grant that's hopefully going to advance the cause further than if we didn't have art attached to it. So that's the article Chris was talking about. It was in the Business Record Daily, and I encourage you, the installation is today at the Wellmark YMCA. And it's just right there on the street. You really can't miss an 8-foot cube of pillows. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally, for being with our club today and that informative presentation. In your honor, we are donating the book Vincent and Camille to the Downtown School Library in your honor. And I have it from a good source, Kitty, that she actually purchased that book in the Netherlands when she was traveling and thought it'd be a good book to donate, and so brought it back here. Thank you for doing that. Thank you, everyone, for being with us here today in person, and those of you out there in cyberspace and watching on our YouTube channel at a later time. For those of you not here, there are 39 of us in the room today, all safely distanced, and we hope more of you will consider coming to a live meeting. That is, if you are comfortable, and if you do want to show up, you've got to RSVP by Tuesday of that week. You can sign up by using the email link that goes out on Fridays or in the Tuesday e-bulletins. Upcoming speakers. Next week, Peter Stevenson of the Civic Music Association. On November 12th, Claudia Schabel, one of our own members. Understand she's going to be speaking on her 5 years in the rodeo circuit. Is that right? No? Okay. I'm not sure what she's going to speak on. We'll find out. Too bad she's not here to defend herself, so. On November 19th, one of my favorite meetings of the year, the Police and Fire Awards, where we'll be presenting awards to two of our local heroes. So thank you again for being here with us today, live or in cyberspace. And remember to try to leave something behind every day, no matter how big or small. And if you haven't already, there's a sign-up sheet on your tables. So write down a very large number so we can meet our goal for the Thanksgiving dinners. And have a happy Halloween. Be sure to turn your clocks back an hour this Saturday night. I'm glad Kitty reminded me of that, or otherwise I'd have probably forgotten. With that, we are adjourned.